So how's training going?
Running's meant to be fun, right?
You would think so.
I'm just not enjoying it at the moment,
Why?
I'm just so overwhelmed by everything, all the data and all the stuff. I actually think I'm going to throw my Garmin away.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's a dustbin. Why not get rid of it? Ntutu, you've just cracked. I mean, you've just thrown your Garmin away.
It deserved it.
Maybe just give me a little bit of context. What's led to this? What's going on?
So you know what it's like when you're coming from injury, right? When you have something catastrophic happen and you take some time off. Like, it's usually quite hard coming back, right?
Yeah.
But now we've just had 2 years of lockdown, and we were in a hard lockdown in 2020, and it just never seemed to go away. And then there were no races, there was nothing like that. So the motivation was low, and then I got unfit. And you know, it's not good when you get unfit. Coming back from unfitness is not great. And that was all fine and well, and as I was getting my mojo back, I got COVID.
So I actually got sick with COVID.
I got sick with COVID.
Okay.
And they tell you, it's going to affect you in different ways, and you just don't know. Then I came back from COVID and tried to get running again. And I'll tell you what, like, I live in a hilly area, and the first hill that you hit, heart rate went through the roof, and It just never came down.
If I take a slight step back, how long were you out for? I mean, how sick were you? Were you out for quite a while?
So I was sick for about 10 days. I think that's the normal time span, but it took me 4 weeks until I could actually start exercising again.
Just getting back to training.
Even walking was difficult at points where I would walk out like half a K out, and it was just too hard, and I had to turn around and come back.
And you mentioned heart rates. I mean, your heart rate's up through the roof with those sort of training. I can imagine you probably got a little bit frustrated with your heart rate being high and your pace is not where you expected yourself to be.
We advise people to walk when you're struggling, but the problem is even walking wasn't helping. So you go out and you start running, you go up a hill, heart rate goes up, and you try and walk it off, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, and I suppose, I mean, we talk about it with any of our programs, like you say, just coming back and just seeing that process. But with something like heart rate, we tend to forget that your heart has gone through quite a bit of stress being sick, so your heart is vulnerable, and just physiologically there's concern there, and you've lost a little bit of fitness, you haven't trained for a while, plus the illness has put your heart under so much stress that when you are getting back, it is, I suppose, quite natural for your heart rate to be so much higher than where it used to be. And I suppose that's where the frustration probably comes in, because you're not where you were, and you're really just getting annoyed with that.
I think you've mentioned a very good point. The problem is that we as runners know ourselves as we were at one point. So at one point you'd have had some baseline of your own personal ability. And then what happened was you got for a run and you want to run at where you were and not where you are right now. Yeah. And that was possibly part of the feedback loop, is that, there is this thing that's happened now. I'm sick, I've had COVID and I recovered, but I want to be over there.
Yeah, and I think it's really quite important here, and something that we really need to take note of is you can't lose sight of the process. Like you say, I know where I once was, I'm not there anymore. It's not to say you'll never get back there, I suppose. It's just you don't lose sight of that process of getting back there and realizing I was sick, I've taken some time off, and working your way back. So I can see where that also, the frustration, and where I suppose that also probably puts you into a little bit of a negative mindset around your training from a motivational point of view, I guess.
Yes, and one thing I experienced was also, now that we are all online and we're on Strava and social media, and what was once a safe haven for me, because we all love the vibe with all of our friends and our mates who run and seeing how everyone is doing, and suddenly you jump on and there's the one part where everyone is running really well, and here you are barely walking and feeling like tired after
Story of my life. Exactly. Story of my life.
And then it's also just the comments, and then there's the watch giving you feedback. The Garmin's have this recovery tool on the watch. So you go out for a run and it comes back and it says you need to rest for 4 days. I went for a 2K walk, buddy.
No, so again, negative feedback, those feedback loops. I mean, I almost just never in general listen to my Garmin, because my Garmin starts telling me that I need, like you say, a 4-day recovery from doing a light run. And that puts you going back to, I know where I was, I know where I'm capable of, and the motivation of something telling me that I'm not good enough or I'm not there can really, that hampers your training. So it's not just the way you're feeling, those internal feedback, if you want to call it that, but the outside stuff. Your mates, I'm assuming, on Strava wondering why you're not running the way you used to be running your 10Ks and those sort of things. So Ntutu, I know your frustration now, but we've got to have a plan, a way forward. So what is your way forward?
So I mean, I think I need to take a step back. It's something we don't do enough as athletes, but you know, I actually don't really know what to do, and I'm open to suggestions. So what would you suggest?
I like actually the fact that you did throw the Garmin away, and probably is a really, you say step back, and maybe that's exactly what you need. Try and get back into training maybe without worrying about any data, any metrics. So go out, run. We talk about running to feel, run to feel. Just almost find the mojo, find that love of running again. That's why you do it. You have a passion for running. Try and be as consistent as possible. The only way you're going to get better, as we speak of consistency, is trying to just keep doing something. Running according to feel, keeping it nice and light, keeping it fun. Try something new maybe. We talk about park runs and alphabet park runs. It's a different challenge. It's something you don't do regularly. It's you used to following structured training programs and getting out there and sticking to certain paces and those. That might be another way for you to just find that love of running until it gets to a point where you are consistent, you are feeling better about your training, where you can then maybe get back onto some sort of straight and narrow and start building towards goals. I don't know, that would be my recommendation. Simplify things at the moment and really just try and be as consistent with that as possible.
You know, I like that idea, David. I think it's funny that you mentioned that, because obviously now with everyone being so obsessed about OpenAI and their ChatGPT chatbot, I've actually been thinking about doing something different and asking this thing to write me a program. So I've asked ChatGPT to write me a program, and I followed it for 4 weeks, so you can see what happened right here.